Good morning, Wrestle fans. It's Monday, April 1st at 12:34 a.m., and you are listening to the Rabid Beaver channel right here on Wrestle Talk. So thank you guys for coming right in and being with me. We're going to jump right into it. We're going to be bringing you the news according to WrestleIncorporated.com. That's WrestlingInc.com. Right on the main page, as soon as you get there, Mr. Ricky Starks provides health update following AEW collision injury scare. He's got it right there on the main page. You can read more about that as soon as you click that story on it. But the biggest news from AEW is going to be Matt Cardona answers open challenge on AEW Collision. Reportedly still a free agent, they say. So that's some big news. That one's done by Miles Snyderman. And it was written March 30th, 2024, 8:56 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It says, after winning the TNT Championship last week on AEW Dynamite, Adam Copeland vowed to bring back the series of open challenges known as the Cope Open. On this week's AEW Collision, Copeland was true to his word, and the challenge proved to be truly open when it was answered by indie superstar Matt Cardona, who isn't under contract with AEW. He's not under contract with them. Let me correct myself. Shortly after Cardona's shocking entrance, Fightful Select reported that the self-proclaimed Deathmatch King is still a free agent and has not signed an AEW deal. According to Fightful, the match with Copeland just came together this week and actually had an impact on other promotion booking. Cardona was scheduled to defend his Squared Circle Expo Championship against Ultimo Dragon on Saturday, but instead ended up dropping the title to his fellow WWE former superstar, Nick Nemeth, on Friday before traveling to Canada for Collision. And the match with Copeland, who ultimately defeated him after a back and forth match with Cardona, got as good as it gets and gave a great spot. So he answered some questions there. He said Cardona wasn't just random opponent for Copeland. The two have history in wrestling dating back to 2007. When they worked for the WWE under the names Zack Ryder and Edge. Cardona and his longtime tag team partner Kurt Hawkins, now TNA Wrestling Brian Myers, were actually repackaged and given the original push as part of Copeland's La Familia stable, where they frequently helped him retain the World Heavyweight Championship. Cardona and Myers would go on to win tag team gold twice in WWE, and Cardona would enjoy his reigns with the Intercontinental and United States Championships before he was released in 2020. Since then, Cardona has been a force of nature on the independent scene, working basically every promotion imaginable, including briefly AEW, a company whose existence he has taken credit for on multiple occasions. That is absolutely the truth. He has. He's and who can blame him? I mean, without him, they may have not been as big on the map. Him and Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks and, you know, everybody that was keeping that thing alive while it was going, and there was really nobody there. So you can't really blame him for trying and putting his name out there and being a part of that and keeping his name where it needs to be. But I'm telling you, man, something has definitely happened and changed and shifted in this world of wrestling for Matt Cardona, and it's become for the best for him the last couple of years. I mean, he's been on a rocket ship, it seems, going through the roof, especially his NWA appearances that he's had. Now, I'm a huge NWA fan. For those of you that don't know, I love the National Wrestling Alliance. I've always loved the National Wrestling Alliance. It's what I grew up on. So if you're catching Season 2, Episode 1 right here of Wrestle Talk, as long as they're still up and available on those other platforms, go back and watch. You'll listen to me talk about the NWA. You'll listen to me talk about all of it. So, his work in the NWA was next to none, especially the death match he just had in Dothan, I believe it was. I believe it was Dothan, Alabama. He did it against EC3. That was one of the better matches that they put on and performed this year. And heck, dude, I mean, Matt Cardona really gave it his all during that match. I mean, pulling everything out. Thumbtacks, freaking doors, tables, hitting him with trash cans, stop signs, pulling out figurines. I mean, the man was all over it. Light bulbs. he had EC3 shaking, like completely shaking in the ring in shock after that match. So got to give him credit where credit is due. Matt Cardona is definitely doing some stuff directly here that's been going on. So WWE Hall of Famer former Rob Van Dam looks back on winning the TNA title. That is done by Sam Palmer. We're going to give it a little clicky poo here. It's done March 31st, 2024, at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It says between 2010 and 2013, the main promotion fans could see Rob Van Dam perform for TNA Wrestling. The WWE Hall of Famer joined after spending 3 years on the independent circuit and quickly found a home in the main event scene, winning the TNA World Heavyweight Championships less than 2 months into his run with the company. RVD hadn't spoke much about it, about his time in TNA, but during a recent edition of One of a Kind podcast, he admitted that he felt great being made the champion of the second biggest promotion in the United States at the time. It was awesome, RVD said. At that time, TNA was being talked as another option, an alternative place to work that could possibly take care of you, so you're making a comparable amount of money. Van Dam defeated both Jeff Hardy and AJ Styles in 2 separate matches to win TNA's top prize. But before his match with Styles, he recalls being told something by Eric Bischoff that he didn't seem to be happy with. Eric Bischoff didn't seem to be too impressed with AJ, RVD said. Before going out there, I just remembered Eric saying, just make it really short and quick. 5-star frog splash, middle of the ring. It sounded like he wanted me to squash the dude, which of course I didn't want to do. AJ was very talented. And when he had a lot of matches, we had a lot of matches together that were really good. So let me correct myself. Dude, I'm reading like a crack monkey today. So you guys, please, if you're out there listening to this, please, I apologize to you guys. Please stick with me while I try to get my crack monkey syndrome under control as we're reading. Van Dam said that he suffered from a back injury throughout his TNA run, which he felt prevented his matches with Styles from reaching that next level, claiming that the bouts, as good as they were, might not have lived up to expectations in Styles' mind. He said, please credit the One of a Kind podcast when using this, and he's absolutely right. We are the One of a Kind podcast with RVD is where you can catch the full thing, the full event, everything that was spoken about right here. You can catch it directly right there, guys. So that's going to be something for you guys to enjoy and hold and keep up with as we move forward in the days to come. Rob Van Dam has always been a main eventer in my mind. I remember the original ECW days where he was on top jumping. My first episode I ever watched of ECW, I was actually in Florida. I was a kid. Well, I consider myself a kid. You know, we were in Crystal River, Florida at the time. My parents were watching a motel. We were working in the motel. We were doing pool work and scrubbing toilets and janitoring and doing room service and all that crap. And we were working in that hotel, and it teaches you a lot whenever you go through stuff like that in life, because you start to learn how to change and mold with the times and stuff. Well, in one of the rooms that we were going through, this guy was watching wrestling, and we were watching WCW, ECW. Well, we didn't watch really a whole lot of ECW, but we watched some of it. And we were watching WCW, WWF, and ECW at the time. And ECW came on one night, and this little dude came out, and he had some yin-yangs on, and he was in some crazy spandex, and it was all custom. And he climbed to the top of this second-story balcony. And I remember thinking, he's not going to jump. He's not going to do this. He's not going to jump and put this dude through a table from 2 stories up. Boy, was I wrong. This little dude jumped from 2 stories and nailed this dude through this table. And that was my first experience with seeing Rob Van Dam in action. And then, of course, him doing the whole damn show, you know, RVD, you know, with his thumbs, you know, that was the thing, bro. That was it. Like, that cemented him in my mind as one of the top guys in the business from that day forward. And I knew that he had something special. Now, I didn't really catch all of his WCW run. I know that he did a short stint in WCW, and it was squashed. I mean, it got squashed really, really quickly early on in his life. So for me to catch the ECW stuff and move on, that was a great stint for me. Now, I don't know what he did in Japan. I don't know all the stuff that he did overseas. I haven't really kept up with his career as best as I could. But I remember from that day forward, I remember that he was going to be a superstar anywhere that he went. And within a few years, he went to WWE and he became freaking Mr. Monday Night. If y'all don't remember that, he is the Monday show, the man, Mr. Monday Night himself, Rob Van Dam. So just catching up here on some other stuff that's going on here. So, Rob Van Dam had all that good stuff that was going on for his career and in his life at one point in time. And then he's had some bad stuff that's going on. The run that he had with Impact and TNA, the last run that he had with Impact and TNA, I personally believe that him and Katie Forbes, whenever they teamed up, it was good for business. It was bad for business. Like, you're showing the raw, dirty, nitty gritty side of the business. And sometimes that's a little bit too much for people to really understand and take into effect of what it does.
Hey, baby, let me switch over to my phone because it's mixing down and I can't hear you. So give me just a second to find it on my phone.
You got to have both sides of it. It's give and take, right? So if I'm talking to you directly and me and you are in the same room, and you can see me face to face, and I know what your emotions is. I know how you feel. I know
it's mixing down. I'll show you what's
going on.
But
that whole run he had with Katie Forbes, it was like one big long porno shoot, and you didn't know what to expect.
It's mixing down the full mix, the 1 hour mix.
It
was supposed to do that the other night, and I didn't realize that it wasn't
doing that. And guys, I'm telling you, it was just crazy, bro. That whole run was crazy with him.
You notice I've got like 1 minute duration.
Push the envelope a little bit. Yes, I do. I also think that it was good for him in a lot of ways, because not only did it push the envelope for him, but it took him to a level that he never had been before.
I had to go in and somebody messaged me and they were like, "What's wrong with your podcast?"
Well, how can you say that, Beef? He's accomplished everything that you can accomplish inside the industry. He's done everything that you can do inside the industry. That's absolutely right. He has, but he never had to play the role that he had to be like the babysitter, the lover, the keeper. He never had to do that. He never had to be that person. And whenever they made him babysit her, that was, well, pardon me, it may not be babysitting, but, whenever they made him watch her and take over her and make her his valet, and he had to come out with her and stuff, that was kind of the motion that you got, the notion that you got from that time and that period where he was with her. So let's move on a little bit. So according to Becky Lynch, she questions the handling of CM Punk's WWE Raw return. Now, we touched this a little bit last week through the Observer, through the Wrestling Observer. That was Dave Meltzer's promotion there that's going on that he writes about. So, but Carrie Fisher has wrote the article here. It was done on March 31st, 2024 at 2:47 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch it on WrestlingInc.com, WrestlingInc.com. That's where you can catch it. It's about midways down with CM Punk in a white t-shirt going up. CM Punk's WWE return at Survivor Series, quote-unquote, War Games, shocked the wrestling world, including the company's locker room. While speaking on the MMA Hour, Becky Lynch revealed that it was kept secret from their peers, which is why her husband, Seth Rollins, was visibly annoyed when Punk entered the arena following the main event. While she acknowledged that WWE officials didn't intend to disrespect the roster, Lynch thinks that keeping the controversial star's return under wraps was the wrong way to go about it. Consideration should be taken into account. You should have told your top stars, of course, but nobody is going out there going, how do I disrespect my top stars? My world champion, how do I disrespect him? Nobody is thinking that, is what she said. Lynch also recalled where she was at the time of Punk's unexpected comeback and detailed the backstage reaction. Furthermore, she essentially confirmed that Rollins' reaction was genuine at the time. She says, quote, I was in the gorilla. There was a first pound. Then my husband was going crazy by the ring. Then the producers on the headset are going, Seth is freaking out. I'm like, oh no, this is going to be a rough night, end quote. Punk and Rollins have interacted on WWE television since then, most recently on last week's edition of Raw, where they had partly a heated segment with Drew McIntyre that's reportedly received praise backstage. And all three superstars were reportedly given the go-ahead to dictate the segment how they saw fit. And I mean, it's give and take. They were all taking personal shots. All three of them were taking personal shots. They all three were putting some business out there. They all three were doing some stuff that probably should have been kept under wraps. You know what I mean? So, did WWE handle his return right? I mean, this is a matter of opinion for the fans. So I think they did, and I'll tell you why. Because the heat that was on Punk from the other promotions, it would have put the promotion in a bad predicament. Plus, their top stars didn't want him there anyway because Punk's history, where he allegedly crushed some people and kept them under wraps and didn't give them the go-ahead and didn't try to put them over as he was leaving the last time, would have led to some controversy among the roster and among the stars that were currently there in the WWE at the time that this took place. So you have to look at it from both sides, guys. You have to look at it from the side that's saying, hey, I think that this is a bad move for WWE, and I think that this is a good move for WWE. You have to look at it from both of those perspectives on this. I personally think that WWE did everything within their power to keep Punk happy in him returning back to the WWE, aka home, as he liked to call it. But we all know the truth that Punk is a ticking time bomb sometimes. Sometimes he's his own worst enemy when it comes to things, when it comes to taking care of business, taking care of the business of wrestling, and trying to keep the wrestling business as we see fit, as he sees fit to be. We know that in his injury, the injury that's taken place, it's going to take him some time to recover. Hopefully, when we wish him well. CM Punk, if you're listening to this, I don't want you to think that I'm trashing you directly. I definitely don't. I'm definitely a fan of yours. I've been a fan of yours for a long time. I think that really what sets you apart was the fact that you were not afraid to speak your mind, but also when the strikes and stuff were going on in WWE and the level of disrespect that was being shown inside the locker room towards the management and towards the work environment and towards everything that was going on. I remember when you came out there and you told him you didn't care if you were going to wrestle a broom, you'd wrestle a broom with him, that you were there to work and you would commentate if nobody else wanted to come to work that night. I remember that. I remember that vividly. I remember that day vividly. I remember what you were wearing vividly. I remember Hunter being in the ring. Let me correct myself. He was in the ring groveling about it because he didn't know what was going to happen during that time period because of everything that had happened in WWE. And they played it off really well for you. The storyline played off really well for you. But in the same aspect, you have to look at it like this. He was the only one. And he took the stand and said, I don't care. This is wrong. And I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to make this wrong right if I'm the only one that does it with the company. So I became a fan of yours right then and there because you were the company. I don't know what happened in AEW. I've been told what's happened in AEW. I've been told what happened between you and a certain Jungle Boy in AEW and you and what's happened between the Young Bucks in AEW. But whether or not that's true, we don't know. I wasn't there. I mean, heck, who else was there? So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt here, Mr. CM Punk. I am, Phil Brooks. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt here, right here on my show, sir. I want to let the world know that you have to take stuff at face value no matter what's being said or what's being done. And see, the circles in the wrestling world are really small. Some of that stuff may be true. It may have happened the way that they said it. It may have happened the way that you have said it. It may have happened. It may have not happened. So you have to look at it like that. I think that some people have it out for other people no matter what because of jealousy, because of envy, because of pride. And what happened in AEW, sir, whether it was time to go or they mishandled the whole situation or you were being a diva or you weren't, it happened. And now we just have to move on with what we've got. Now, am I happy you came home? Absolutely, I'm happy that you came home. The other superstars, are they happy that you came home? No, because they think you're there to take their spot. And rightfully so, you should. You want to know what happened when you went to that first WWE show? 5.4 million extra viewers. The first episode that you were back on. 5.4 million viewers. AEW lost 3.6 million viewers that episode. 3.6 million viewers changed the channel from AEW to WWE just to see your return. So you can take that at face value for what it's worth. I mean, that's worth something right there. And so I'm going to tell you right now, Phil, I don't think that they're going to be happy with you. I don't think that they're ever going to be happy with you because they see you as a threat. They see you as a threat to take their spot, to take their place in professional wrestling. And to be quite frank and quite honest with you, I think you should in some aspects. Some things are just bad creative genius. Some things are just bad people in the wrestling business that have gotten over and have lied to the right people in the wrestling business who have made their career. Do I think you're one of those people? No, Phil, I don't. I don't think that CM Punk. I don't think that at all. I think that you're trying to do it the best way you know how. And you tried to do it so long and you tried to hold out from going back because you didn't want it to be what it was whenever you left. And you were hurt at the business whenever you left. And we know that. I mean, I've heard you talk on Colt Cabana about the stuff that took place and about all the stuff that happened with Vince McMahon specifically, where he had secret phone calls with you. You were showing text messages. You were doing everything. And that was one of the most rated shows that Colt Cabana ever had was with you on it. And it's because the hurt was there for the fans. I mean, the hurt was extremely there. Then you did your UFC run. Everybody knows about that, Phil. Everybody knows about the CM Punk UFC run that took place. And, man, I'm just going to tell you straight up, 100% straight up, let's just be real. Do I think you could have succeeded in UFC? Absolutely. I think you could have. I think it would have taken a little bit more hard work and dedication, but it also would have been them not trying to put you in the ring with people that were trying to kill you. And that's the difference, is they should have put you in some lower level exhibition matches, get you used to the fighting scene, get you used to it. And then, I'm not saying throw the matches for you. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying put you in the ring with some people who are trying to break into the industry too, who are trying to get their name known and trying to get out there, and they're fighting you as well. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not saying to throw your matches at all. I wasn't saying that at all. And I don't want to insinuate that right here on Wrestle Talk, because that's not the truth of it. The truth of it is you went out there and you had guts to do something that nobody else at that point in time was doing. Brock Lesnar just recently at that point in time was coming back because he was done with it. He wasn't marketable in those offices anymore because he wasn't winning fights for them and he wasn't being a draw and the money was away. So they thought that they could use you to be that draw because you did have the crowd, you did have the power, you had everything that was going forward for you at that time. So, there's give and take. You got to look at it on both sides of the spectrum, like we were talking about earlier. Both sides of the spectrum have something to offer. What is it that they offer for you? And what can you do to make sure that Wrestle Talk is being accurate? And what could UFC do for Phil Brooks to make sure that Phil Brooks was taken care of? Do I think that you waited a little bit too long to get back in professional wrestling after it happened? Yes, but I don't know the extent of your contract. I don't know about your non-compete. I don't know about what all you signed away, what rights you signed away for your merchandise, your gear, your name. Because that's a whole nother side of the business that nobody wants to talk about, is the merchandising side of it. So if your merchandise is selling, and if you're doing pretty good with your merchandise selling, then most of the time people will look the other way on purpose. And when they look the other way on purpose, they look the other way for a couple reasons. For one, because you're selling stuff. You're making them money, you're making money, and you're being profitable to them while you're making that money. The second side of it is you have to look at it like this, is if you're not a draw and you're not making money and people know you've got a name, but they aren't wanting to come and see you anymore, they're going to get rid of you. So, Phil, and I don't think that it was either of those options. I think it was just to the point that they thought that it was a failed run, that they were experimenting with you. They were using you as a guinea pig to see if it would be more marketable for them before they purchased the WWE as of recent days, as we know, if it was going to be more marketable for them to do so with you. So that's my take on it. Wrestle fans, if you guys have a different take on it, you can always hit me up, always, on facebook.com/Joseph D. Hughes. You can catch me right there. It's got a picture of my puppy at the top inside the banner. That's how you know you can get me. You can send me a message day or night. I will gladly accept it for you guys. If you guys are following the podcast, wherever you guys are following it, whether it's iHeartRadio, Audible, Podbean, Buzzsprout, wherever you guys are getting it, Spotify, let me tell you, you guys can get a hold of me on that Facebook page. You also can follow me for the video cast that I do, because I do some video casts. I also do some more wrestling stuff. I do some Saturday morning wrestling. I do some all sorts of stuff here for Wrestle Talk. And you guys can catch me. And anytime I go live, if you hit the like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube, it's Nerdy Gaming with a Rabid Beaver 132. That's NERDYGAMING WITHARABBID, the number 3 AV132. That's on YouTube. If you guys want to follow me on Facebook, once again, it's Joseph, JOSEPH, space D, space Hughes, HUGHES. You can catch me right there. That's how you catch the Rabid Beaver and Wrestle Talk. If you guys are out there following me on Streamlabs and Stream Elements, that's at Rabid Beaver. It's www.streamlabs.com/rabidbeaver/home. That's ARABBID, the number 3 AVER/home. And Stream Elements is the same way, www.streamelements.com/rabidbeaver/home. So that's how you get a hold of me, guys. That's the best way to do it for you guys. Twitch.tv/rabidbeaver. That's twitch.tv/ARABBID, the number 3 AVER. So you guys can catch me. I do some gaming stuff on all of them. I also do Wrestle Talk. I also do the Power Hour Wrestling Show, where we go through once a week or once a month, depending on how Championship One Wrestling wants to do it. And we do some promos with some people that are going. And we get to interview them, and we have some questions that need to be answered, and we get to go through with all that. And then, of course, we do the Wrestle Talk, Wrestle News, where we go through news according to Wrestle Incorporated and give our opinion on it like we're doing here today. So that's on the radio podcast is what we're doing here. So, there's lots of stuff that we go through and we get to know. So let's move on. So by P.T. Williams, we have an article called, it says, Mike Rotunda recalls working for WWE's first WrestleMania alongside Barry Windham. That was by P.T. Williams. It was March 31st, 2024 at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when that one came out. Guys, it says a certain generation of fans will always remember Mike Rotunda as the evil taxman, Erwin R. Shyster. But Rotunda's wrestling career began long before the audits did. By the time Rotunda was repackaged as a tie-wearing, suitcase-carrying government employee, he had already been wrestling for about 10 years. That's right. He was the man from Syracuse, if I remember correctly. WCW and the NWA had him as that world champion wrestler that he came out of Syracuse, and he was homegrown, and he was the man. Sometimes it's overlooked that Rotunda's pre-IRS days included a spot on the undercard of the very first WrestleMania in 1985. On Stories with Briscoe and Bradshaw, Rotunda rescinded about being on such a huge show just a few years after turning pro. He says, quote, "It was exciting. I started in the business at the end of 81, and now it's 1984, and I'm in New York." Rotunda said, because all the time there was like the Carolinas, the Gagnes out of Minneapolis, and then New York were the big three territories. I don't know how I got there, but that was a quick run to get there. The inaugural WrestleMania was a far cry from the two-day spectacular it would eventually become. Nowadays, with all the media blitz and the promotional appearances expected of its performers in the lead-up, not to mention other episodes of WWE Raw scheduled the following day, the weeks surrounding WrestleMania demand all hands-on-deck approach from the talent. But Rotunda said it wasn't always like that. They used to take a little break around WrestleMania time, like a week before and a week after, Rotunda said. We flew up that morning, did WrestleMania, and then I ran to the airport and caught a flight home at WrestleMania. Rotunda and the World Tag Team Champion partner, Barry Windham, his World Tag Team partner, Barry Windham, wrestled at the U.S. Express, dropping the gold to the Iron Sheik and Nikita Koloff. Rotunda and Windham will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame on Friday, April 5th, as part of WrestleMania weekend. That was announced by Triple H. He did a video call with him. If you guys missed missed that. And it made its round through WWE. It also made its round through the some of the other pages that I'm a part of on Facebook, the NWA page, I'm part of a couple NWA pages, NWA True Pro Wrestling, the C1W page that I'm a part of. I believe it made a little bit of a round there. Some people were giving some high praises of that. And I got to say, man, I was really happy when Hunter made the call saying that they were going to get them into the Hall of Fame. I think the IRS character was the most memorable character in my day that I can remember of Rotunda having. Barry Windham's always been Barry Windham. He's always been there. He's always been the cowboy. He's always been the bad guy and the good guy in some cases, some circles. But he's always been there and done that for him. So, you got to see that there's a lot of stuff that's going to be going on with that. And I was so happy that they got inducted, that they were getting their names inducted into the Hall of Fame. Those two guys definitely deserve it. But if you really want to talk about it, what happened to Axe and Smash from Demolition, guys? I mean, do you remember them as a tag team? So I think that's the next call is we got to get the Hart Foundation, the original Hart Foundation in. Then we got to get none other than Demolition in. That was the SummerSlam that they wrestled, the 2 out of 3 falls count. Suckered me in, guys. That was in the 80s, early 90s, I believe. Let me. I think it was 91, SummerSlam 91. Let me look that up real quick while we're here. Apologize about the break right now. We're doing some SummerSlam stuff. I think it was 91. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was, because I believe that there was a cage match with the Ultimate Warrior. It was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, wasn't it? Let's make sure I'm telling you the truth. It might have been before that. SummerSlam 92 was the British Bulldog, so I know it wasn't 92. 93 was Yokozuna. I remember the Yokozuna thing that they did for 93. So it's either 90 or 91. It was 90. SummerSlam 90. Let me correct myself. It was SummerSlam of 1990. So the Hart Foundation was going through there. Ravishing Rick Rude was taking on none other than the Ultimate Warrior in that cage match where Rude was the rudest person in the business, but he was also the most confident person in the business because he wore the face of everybody else's wife on his trunks. You might be confident, but he's got it right there front and center, either on his booty or on his, yes, sir. And he's got their face right there so you can see it right up. So Rude was definitely one of those people. But back to the Demolition thing. Yeah, the Hart Foundation, that 2 out of 3 falls match that they did at SummerSlam of 1990 it was. So it was 1990, not 91. Let me correct myself. It was 1990 that they did that SummerSlam. That was the match that kind of cemented them for me. And then the Road Warriors came out. I mean, Axe, Smash, and God, who was the other guy's name? It was Axe, Smash, and Crash, I believe, was Demolition. Axe, Smash, and Crash. Demolition. Demolition needs to be there. I mean, that SummerSlam was the one that made wrestling fans all over America. I mean, we were so happy that the Legion of Doom showed up at that WrestleMania. If you guys don't remember, you guys got to go back and watch this WrestleMania. Hulk Hogan took on Earthquake in this SummerSlam, I do believe, as well. So I mean, it was just an all around thing. It was Tugboat and Hulk Hogan who was taking on Earthquake and Dino Bravo, right? I believe it was Dino Bravo. I think that was who it was. So you guys correct me if I'm wrong. Just go up there and correct me if I'm wrong. Say it, because I believe that was what was happening when it was going on. But man, I remember that. I remember the Macho Man had, it wasn't the sensational Sherry. It was Scary Sherry, baby. Yeah, Scary Sherry with him. Dusty Rhodes was out there dancing like a fool in his polka dots. He was making it work. I mean, it was just all around a great show. It was the Macho Man versus Dusty Rhodes. God, that was a match, baby. That was a match, baby. It's Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, and he's going to take on none other than the Macho Man. Let me tell you something. You're going to hold my hand, and I'm going to hold yours, and we're going to beat that Macho Man. I can hear Dusty cutting his promos, baby. And when he gets mad, let me tell you something. Sapphire, tell him, baby. You know, he had sweet Sapphire with him at that point in time. I mean, I remember Sapphire too. God, that's just good. That's good talking. I mean, I don't know how we got here, but we got on SummerSlam, guys. We got on SummerSlam 1990. Going back and revisiting this stuff. There was just all sorts of stuff that was going on during that time period, man. All sorts of stuff. And I believe Mr. Perfect was there with Bobby Heenan too. Wasn't Mr. Perfect there? I'm pretty sure he was. I'm pretty sure he was on the card at some point in time. The Rockers were on that card. Goodness gracious. The original Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty Rockers is who was on that card. The original ones. You know, I think that they were a take of the Rock and Roll Express, really, to be honest with you. So those of you that are my NWA fans, let's just talk about that one for a second. I think that Vince Sr. was really pushing and marketing his company to go in that direction. And when Junior got kind of the lead to go ahead and push the promotion to where it needed to be, and try to get it into the stratosphere that we know it now to be the WWE and the WWE Network and everything that goes along with it, he had those two come out, and I really believe that they were a knockoff Rock and Roll Express. I believe people believe that they were the Rock and Roll Express. So, you know, Ricky Morton, I'm sorry, buddy. I hate that they did that to you guys, but I wish you would have given them the nod. I wish that they would have made the Rockers versus the Rock and Roll Express the kings of the mat in the rock and roll history. That's something that could have been done. That could have been a dream match that could have really went over well in a fan's mind anyway. It would have went over in my mind. I mean, I'm just going to tell you. I believe the Big Boss Man was on that too. If I remember, it was the original Big Boss Man in blue. So Sergeant Slaughter, I think Sergeant Slaughter did a little special appearance during that time period. It was kind of weird. I believe that was right around, might have been right before the Gulf War or right during the Gulf War when SummerSlam was taking place. And I think Sergeant Slaughter aligned himself with the Iron Sheik during that period of time, didn't he? It might have been a couple of years later, or it might have been a year before or so, but I believe that he aligned himself with the Iron Sheik during that time period of Desert Storm, and it caused a ton of controversy. See, look how we got on rabbit trails here. We're just going back and visiting the past here and talking about some stuff that was near and dear to our heart, the stuff that got us into it. And we started with this little conversation about talking about Demolition, what year Demolition faced. Well, first of all, Demolition needs to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. All three members need to be inducted into the Hall of Fame for the work that they did just at SummerSlam alone in 90 against the Hart Foundation. You know, that 2 out of 3 falls match that they did, that cemented the Hart, that really made the Hart Foundation in WWE. I hate to say it. I think that they had a good following. Bret Hart already had a good following. You know, Jim the Anvil had an okay following, but after this match at SummerSlam and where they were put through, it really put them over and put them over the top, and it cemented their legacy, winning these titles and keeping these titles and moving through it at SummerSlam. Like it really kept their legacy alive by them winning it. So they need to be inducted into the Hall of Fame along with the Hart Foundation. The Hart Foundation definitely needs to be inducted into the Hall of Fame as one of the best tag teams to ever grace the titles. So that's how we got started on this, and we went on the SummerSlam rabbit trail, the rabbit hole here, and we've been moving through. There's some other stuff that I remember during that time period. Let's see. It was the Texas Tornado. That's what it was at that SummerSlam. It was Mr. Perfect and the Texas Tornado. I couldn't remember who was on the card with him. For a minute, I was about to say Tito Santana, but I think Tito faced somebody else too. But the Texas Tornado and Mr. Perfect. And Mr. Perfect, if I recall correctly, lost that match to the Texas Tornado after he claimed that he was going to be straight perfect all the time. So you tell me, Kurt Hennig, WWE legend, WCW legend, TNA legend, just a legend in the business, Portland wrestling legend. You know, he was over there in Portland doing his thing way before time was cool. So we definitely remember. I remember most of this stuff. It's just taken me a while to have it come back. You know, a lot of it just has to come back. And that's what it is. I don't know if you guys have kept up with the archive show that's been going on with WWE, where they were going through and archiving stuff. I actually just recently started rewatching some of that. And I got to an episode with Booker T where something caught my eye that was going on that they were looking for. They were looking for the WCW Television Championship. And it's a big deal because that really was like the title that they used to put on people before they put the real title on them, put the World Heavyweight Championship on them, to see how they could hold up as a champion and how that title would hold up. And it's gone missing, and I don't believe that there's any reports on what's happened to it since the time that it was missing. And I know that the archives are looking for it. The WWE archives are looking for that title to put it in to the archives and also to have at exhibits and shows. So I want to request, if any of you guys listen to Wrestle Talk, and I know that there's a few of you out there that are spread out throughout the world, but if you guys are into the actual collection of the real belts, the actual belts themselves, I know it's a super small circle, super small circle. They are looking for it in New York for the archives. Reach out to them, reach out to the archives in New York, and give them the information you got, because they definitely want it back. Now, that little title is very special in a lot of ways. There's a lot of people who held the WCW title, that television title. Excuse me, guys. Excuse me just a second. So that belt, I know that they've duplicated it several times, but it almost, I remember the NWA one and the new NWA one that they come out with looks just like the original one, but the WCW title that had the world in the middle of it, and it was red at the top, had the red WCW in gold, but rounded in red. And then they put the smaller one when they came out with the second version of it. It was all gold with the world inside of it, and all that. You know, they're still looking for that title, man. It's been one of those things that's definite close to their heart. So I know that television title, it debuted, I believe, February 27th, 1974, Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, MACW, a territory with the National Wrestling Alliance, known as Jim Crockett Promotions, was purchased by Turner Broadcasting in 1988, and they kept it until March of 2001, when certain assets were sold by AOL Time Warner, and the World Wrestling Federation purchased those assets. As such, those assets included the rights to the WCW Television Championship, inactive since April 10th of 2000, where the last known champion of it was Jim Duggan that we know of. The last known television title holder was Jim Duggan. April 10th, 2000. We're now WWF property. Before it was known as the WCW Television Championship, starting in 1991 and continuing until the deactivation of the title. It was known as the NWA Mid-Atlantic Television Championship from 74 to 77, the NWA Television Championship from 77 to 85, and the NWA World Television Championship from 85 to 91 before it was changed directly over. The title was often defended in matches with a time limit of 10 or 15 minutes, more often than with other championships. Title matches resulted in time limit draws and the champion retaining the title. This was often used as a heat building device to allow villain championships to retain the title. The NWA version of the belt had the logos of the major television networks in the U.S., NBC, CBS, ABC, on either side of the belt, while the 92 through 95 WCW version of the belt had TBS on both sides of the title. So the inaugural champion was Danny Miller, who won the tournament final on February 27th, 1974. There have been 104 different championship reigns, with Booker T having the most reigns, 6, at that point in time. The longest reigning champion is Paul Jones on his 15th reign. Jones held the championship for 368 days from June 7th, 78 till June 10th, 79. Lex Luger, Chris Benoit, and Booker T hold the record for the shortest reign, each having a reign of 1 day. Arn Anderson holds the record for the most days as champion with 870 days over 4 title reigns. The last champion was Jim Duggan, who claimed the title while working as WCW janitor after Scott Hall threw it in the garbage and he found it in a dumpster. The title was retired on April 10th, 2000 after the Vince Russo, Eric Bischoff WCW reboot. So that's what we know about the title currently. But nobody has seen it. Nobody knows anything about it. Nobody has done anything with it that we know of. Jim Duggan was the last one that we knew that was prominent that even knew about the title. But if you guys have seen it, I know the archives are looking for it. The WWE archives are looking for it. Let's find that title. Let's find the WCW World Television Championship. Somebody has it. Somebody has it out there. Anybody has it out there. But that championship that was there from 91 until 2001, before they closed down, April 10th of 2000 was when it was retired. Then you guys need to get on that ball and get with the archives of WWE and get that thing turned in. So we've got started talking about championships and stuff like that. That's where we're at. We've just kind of gone down the rabbit hole today. We started with news and ended up here on championships. So, but that is something that is very important in the world of wrestling. It's very important for historically for the history of wrestling to be preserved correctly and reserved correctly and saved for future generations to know. And also, if anybody was going to purchase the rights to somebody else's company like WCW, like if WWE just got bought out by TKO, right? And let's say TKO decides that they want to get rid of everything. They want to offload it and they don't care about WCW stuff no more. They don't care about the logos, the rights, and they want to sell every bit of that to a smaller promotion. Well, then you have the right to regain everything that WCW lost at that point in time. So that's the championships that they lost. The rights to the stage, the rights to the ring, the rights to the television production, everything that was owned and operated by Turner Broadcasting for TBS to that point in time in history. Now, I'm not saying that would happen. I'm not saying that WCW would do that. Somebody would buy some WCW, but hell, I mean, the rights are out there. If the right person did it, the right person would do it, and it would work great. Let's just say it like that. So, would I be going to WCW matches again? Absolutely, 100% positively. But you know what? We've got AEW now, so I doubt that it would happen. We have TNA too. I mean, we got Impact. Impact is back. TNA Impact is there. And TNA rebranded here recently. I really haven't had a chance to speak about this, but I'm kind of glad that it's coming up now in the conversation because, with the new rebranding back to TNA, I see and foresee some good things and some bad things happening since the rebranding process. Number one, I know we spoke about it on a couple episodes back about Scott D'Amore losing his job and being replaced in TNA. And I feel the same way I felt then, in a way it's good, but in a way it's bad. And I don't think that TNA is the same place without Scott D'Amore at the helm. I just don't. But in the same aspect, he went through hell and back in those rough years, the television years with no, absolutely no television, having to be put on networks that nobody had, and just the whole debacle from being sued by Hogan, the whole debacle with Dixie Carter. And so Scott D'Amore just really fought through a lot of shit, basically. Pardon my language. I'm sorry to say it, but he did. He fought through a bunch of shit, fought through a ton of it. Absolute 100% ton of shit he fought through. And he deserves to have a job in the wrestling business somewhere. I don't know if he's got a non-compete currently. I'm pretty sure he does. I mean, I would say that Scott D'Amore has a non-compete with one of these major companies because they are all the time trying to keep people from going to other companies if they can. So, but that would be the thing. So Scott D'Amore, we wish you well. We've always wished you well here on Wrestle Talk. We want to see you. And if you're interested in coming and telling your side of the story, we would love to have you. Or if you want to do phone interviews, we'd love to have you come in and tell your side of the story sometime. It may not be today. It may not be tomorrow. Even if they gag ordered you, whatever, dude, I'm telling you, like, at the end of the day, the truth is the truth. And after that gag order's up, you can speak. So I would just speak about it freely whenever you're free to do so. And like I said, we'd love to have the scoop on it. If you want to email us, you can definitely email us. You can catch us right here on Wrestle Talk with a Rabid Beaver. So I know Scott listens. Scott was one of my subscribers on iHeartRadio. So I appreciate him coming in and being a part of that too, man. That was a really awesome thing. So that's why I'm saying, Scott, if you want to talk about it, you're more than welcome to talk about it with Wrestle Talk anytime that you want to talk about those issues that took place at hand. We would love to hear from you. So you always have an outlet here. But yeah, so that's how we got here was TNA. So I think the rebranding process it's good in a way, but it's bad in a way for them, right? So it's good to have the rebranding and get fresh colors and get fresh mats and, bring new talent in and bring talent from other promotions in to help you put your promotion over and really cement your promotion back as one of the top promotions in the wrestling business altogether. But in the same aspect, you look at it like this. How many times have they rebranded in the past 15 years? I know of 5. They've rebranded 5 times in 15 years. So is that a good thing for them or a bad thing for them? That's what you've got to ask. Those are the questions you have to ask and you have to go through. I think it's bad. I think it's been a bad move for them to rebrand like that because of 2 reasons specifically. Number 1 is you're confusing the fans. I mean, yeah, it's good to change everything up every once in a while. I get it. You got to keep things fresh. You got to keep fans interested. You got to bring new fans in. Well, you know how you do that? You build your characters up. Not only build your characters up, but you get them on a spot on television where they can compete with the big boys. You got to get in those executive offices and just hash it out. And I know. Just like Eric Bischoff did whenever he was trying to fight for WCW to stay alive. And we've heard Eric's side of the story. We've heard, a ton of other people speak about it. Sometimes the board just thinks they know best when it comes to wrestling, and they don't. They just don't. And they thought it wasn't profitable. See, Eric Bischoff learned the lesson through whenever he was trying to buy it himself, whenever he was trying to purchase WCW himself. He learned that lesson that the stations don't need wrestling as much as wrestling needs the stations. So he thought that he was secure. He was going to be able to get financing and it was just going to be hunky-dory. They were going to be able to buy it and he was going to be able to move on and do whatever he wanted with it and run it as a promotion. But the truth came out that he couldn't do that. He couldn't do any of that. And that's what ended up hurting Eric Bischoff in the long run is because he thought he was invincible. No offense. Hey, Eric, Easy E, man. I know that you listen too. I'm sorry to trash you like that, but the truth of it is the truth. At the end of your run with WCW, there was just too many irons in the fire. We all know it. We all know what was going on. The Rusev stuff, man. You just made the Russo stuff. You just made a lot of interesting decisions. Let's just say it like that. There was a lot of interesting decisions. There was a lot of talent decisions that were made, a lot of contractual obligation decisions that were made that were good for the business in a way, but terrible for the business in another way. Now, you had the right decision. If somebody's taped, you go live. If somebody's live, you go taped. If, they're going to do theirs on Monday, you're going to go ahead. Excuse me. You're going to go head to head with them on that Monday as well. I apologize for yawning, guys. It's currently 1:28 a.m. Monday, April 1st, right here on Wrestle Talk with a Rabid Beaver. And I'm giving this one to you live. So I understand the decision-making ability, and you actually did everything as a trailblazer to set yourself apart. The business is still the business. It's still bigger than anybody that's in the business. That's the part that's missing a lot of times. A lot of people get confused and they think that just because they're in the business, it's going to be there for them always, and it's not. The business is the business, baby. And it's going to be there. Business will be there, but you may not. It's a well-oiled machine. The faces rotate and change. The networks change. They change what they want to see. Your ratings change based on who is who inside the business. And honestly, I don't think it was pitched to the right people to take it. I didn't know if anybody else really wanted to take it, to be honest with you. Let's just call it what it was. Turner was done with it for sure, and that was big enough for them because he was a multi-billionaire at that point in time. Not millionaire, billionaire. He was already in the billions. He already had billions of dollars at that point in time with Turner Broadcasting. And he could have done whatever the heck he wanted. Let's just call it what it was. You got to remember, he was a millionaire just from baseball. Then he was a millionaire from certain television networks like the news network he had, CNN. So wrestling was just a hobby to him. The money was just a hobby that he was offering these people. And it was chump change. He could just pay it and it would just be there for him to do. But he did it the right way with certain bookers. He brought the right bookers in. You know, Eric Bischoff brought the right bookers in with Turner Broadcasting to keep the wrestling business interesting. And he also brought in people who were established and knew that they were established. Now, I'm not just talking about the WWF guys. I'm talking were established in wrestling like Dusty Rhodes, Larry Zbyszko. Lex Luger was already established with WWF as a WWF superstar at that point in time. But he brought in people that had worked, you know, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat had worked in NWA. Sting kept Sting around, kept Vader around. Vader was working NWA, WCW, and WWF at one point in time. You know, I mean, he made the decision to keep the right people in the business and keep the right people moving inside the business to move it. So, Eric, I've got to give you credit on that, buddy. I mean, you did the right thing, the absolute right thing, bro. So, you know, there's no hostility here towards me and you. I want you to know that, Eric Bischoff, easy. I don't want you to think that there is. But I do want you to know that you know, the whole debacle with you trying to get it settled and getting the networks and the networks not wanting you, I do think that the fight should have been done a couple months before. I think if you would have presented it, if you would have known what was going to happen with WCW at that point in time, and you would have known 100% 6 months in advance that they were going to do that crap to you guys, I think you would have had another network set up and ready to go. I believe they would have given you enough time to put it on the air somewhere else, and you would have been able to do whatever you wanted to do as far as the money goes. I think that the money issue became an issue for you guys because everybody wanted to back out after they found out who was actually interested in purchasing it. And see, I think that you are the fluffer company. I know that term gets thrown around in business. If you guys aren't businessmen or businesswomen, sometimes companies will have companies compete against each other, and they've already got a company selected that they want to sell a product to or their business to or something to, but they have to take options from other people that are inside the business. So they have to look at all their options to see which one's the best and is direct. So they call it a fluffer company, right? They'll bring Company A in, who they're going to sell it to, and Company B in as a, hey, we're going to listen to your proposal. You get it set up, and hopefully something good will happen, but we're going to listen to you anyway. And they're the fluffer company to make the companies feel jealous of one another. Like, hey, if I don't do this, there's already another company there that can do whatever they're asking me to do. So that the original company who's interested in purchasing said product or said thing or whatever is going to get the best price possible. That's what they do. So, and you see a lot of this in the podcasting industry currently, or in the streaming industry. Let's say streaming industry. So like StreamYard, Stream Elements, Streamlabs, they're all fighting for the same space, right? To put you out there to multi-stream, Restream.io, all of them. They're all fighting for the same space for you to be put out. So a company like, let's say, Navita. So if Navita said, we're going to start a company today and we're going to talk to all these people to see who can build our software and build our stream and build everything that we want and build our scenes and who can do it the best, they're going to bring Streamlabs in, and they're going to bring, you know, Stream Elements in, and they're going to bring, StreamYard in. They're going to bring all of them in. And they're going to have a sit down with all of them, and whoever gives them the best price or whatever is going to win it. They call it the fluffer syndrome. So I think that you were the fluffer for WWE. That's what I think is going on. And that's just a little business lesson for you guys. Sometimes that happens in life. It happens in everyday life. If anybody has ever been on a job interview, I know this is a little off topic with wrestling, but we're going to get back there. We're going to bring it back to wrestling. So if anybody's ever been on a job interview and, they say, well, we've got 6 more candidates, but we'll definitely give you a call back. Well, they're going to be looking at those candidates the same way they're looking at you. Who's going to be the most faithful, who answers all the right questions.